friends, I'm Abigail.
And I'm Cassidy, and this is 10 to Thrive.
We're here to talk through all the seasons of life.
From the messy and mundane to the meaningful, where God meets us where we are.
We're all about applying God's Word to real life and growing as women of God together.
Let's thrive in His goodness for His glory. All right, today we're hopping into navigating family opinions.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm really excited for Abigail to talk about this. This is going to be a good one. I don't really have a lot to introduce us into, so we're just going to kind of hop into this.
Yeah, well, if you come from a large family or a small family, and arguably coming from a small family, it might be worse. I don't know. No siblings.
Oh, okay.
Just parents. Or one sibling, a sibling.
Yeah.
So, depending on what family size you're coming from, opinions matter, right?
You get more options for having the favorite brother or sister.
Yeah, that is true. In that way, having a big family, it might make it easier because you have some more cushion.
Right. So give us an example. How many siblings do you have?
So I have 6 siblings.
Yeah, and I have 3. So,
and
gives us a little bit perspective for where we're coming from today.
Yeah, 6 siblings, and 4 of them are married. So then I have 4 additional siblings, and again, everybody is different. I am really close to all my in-laws. Praise the Lord, we have a very tight-knit family.
Pros and cons.
Yes, pros and cons. And so then, rather than having the in-law that's like, oh, I'm just going to keep my opinion to myself. No, they're like, you need to know. And it's like, oh, okay, fine. But, whether I like it or not, I am surrounded by a multitude of unsolicited counselors. Proverbs tells us to have a multitude of counselors and advisors.
There you go.
There is safety.
Tapping in on wisdom.
Yeah. Sometimes there is safety. Sometimes there is conflict. But something that we want to keep in mind, by and large, whether you're coming from a Christian family or an unbelieving home, by and large, our families really do love us and they want the best for us. And so they're trying to counsel us in a way, or, give us constructive criticism in a way that's going to benefit us. Unfortunately, from time to time, there are going to be exceptions to this rule, where individuals may have poor intentions or be harboring bitterness or envy, but most often our families really do want to serve us and help us, and so that's really the approach that we're going to camp on today. So just a couple things. Sometimes it's advice, other times it's comments. Do your brothers, Cassidy, so Cassidy is the only girl in her family. Do your brothers treat you like a princess, or do they mock you and ridicule you ruthlessly?
They're very kind.
Aww.
I have really nice brothers. I think that there was some of the, she's the favorite, like she gets whatever she wants, like when she was growing up, when I was growing up. And so there's some of the like whatever eye rolls going on. But overall, it's really we're all pretty quiet, chill, level.
Yes.
We don't have a lot to say.
No. I have a very good relationship with all my brothers, and I love them very much, but it is definitely where they love to poke fun. The other week, I went to a family function, and I was wearing an outfit that I wouldn't normally wear. It was this cool black hat and a black button-down shirt and white slacks with boots. And I walk in, and right away, so 3 of my brothers are all there. My 3 older brothers are all standing there. And the first one goes, "Whoa, you look kind of creepy in that." And I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, you're just so tall and all the black. And then another brother is like, you know what you look like? You look like a female pastor. And I was just like, not the vibe I'm going for, And then another one's like, no, it's okay. You look nice. It's just you don't usually dress like that. And then I've got an uncle who's sitting there and he's like, you look kind of Amish. And I was like, all right, you know what? I am going to go somewhere else. And
this is great.
then I meet my fourth brother and he's like, oh. And I was like, what do you have to say? And he's like, nothing. You look good.
It's like, at this point, I just want to hop in the car and
Yes.
drive home.
And then I meet one of my sisters-in-law, and she's like, no, I think that the boys are all just saying that because the last week that we've been seeing you, you've kind of been dressed, well,
How do I say this nicely?
comfy clothes. So I think that they're all just surprised to see you looking nice. And I was like, okay, I love my family. And that's, those types of comments, depending on how you are, that could really get under your skin.
Right.
But it's okay. Those unsolicited comments, it's the way that our family shows us love, or they're giving us their opinions. My grandma likes to keep it real with me about how messy my room is, and she hasn't really done it in the last couple of years, but certainly when Trevor and I first got married, she would ask him, like, is she keeping the room clean? And it's like, no, I am not keeping the room clean. I'm the problem. So right, our families are going to question us, and sometimes it's going to border on frustration. Again, I can be kind of an airheaded person or a forgetful person, and so sometimes it feels like they're checking in on me and babying me, and I might feel kind of childish when they're checking and double checking, and it's like, no, I've got it, it's okay. Again, siblings ultimately can be the most frustrating voices that we hear, and there's a couple reasons for this. We are on the same level. We're peers. It might not always feel that way, especially when we've grown up competing with them, or maybe you're still competing with your siblings into adulthood of, they have this spouse that everybody loves, but my spouse they have a harder time with, or maybe I have a really great job and it pays really well, but they're still working on getting their career on the ground. And so depending on what it is, there can still be this level of competition, so that it does feel tense when siblings make a comment or when they have an opinion that you're like, I don't agree with you. And it can feel like an attack, but a few rules, and these are, I would say, 5.5 rules that I would encourage each person to really take into consideration when family makes a comment to you or gives advice or whatever it may be. So rule number 1, and I have already kind of talked to this is a rule for criticism that I try to have in my life at all times, but especially with family. Is there any truth to what they're saying? Okay, maybe I did look a little Amish. All right, it's possible. I can laugh it off. I can take it with a grain of salt. Maybe there's a little truth there. So is there truth that I can take away and say, all right, they're not wrong? And then, so that's rule 1A, and rule 1B is don't get defensive. Again,
maybe it's for fun or a joke.
Yeah, maybe it's for fun, maybe it's a joke, but maybe they really have good intentions. When people bring comments, right away we want to defend ourselves, we want to give a good reason and an explanation. I know my husband, he'll say something and right away I'll have a counter argument and he'll be like, don't get defensive. I'm like, I'm not defensive. I just want to tell you why you're wrong. I want to redirect you. But in all honesty, listen to what they have to say, and one of two things are going to happen. Either they're going to be wrong and you can just smile and move on, or there's some truth to that we can take away. Rule number 2, can I find a way their comment can help me or make me a better person?
Great.
And so again, that goes with rule number 1. of is there any truth? Rule number 3, do I understand what they mean? And clarify to be sure. A big area that family divisions come into place or family quarrels is somebody misunderstood. You know, there were very innocent intentions or whatever it may be, but we misunderstood them, or we misunderstood them. We thought they were talking about something else.
Right. I think this often comes into play with texting and like group messages, or even, or like that tone came across as so like rude. It's words. I think you made up your own tone.
Yeah.
But anyways, yes,
family,
it can
group
be misunderstood.
Messages, that is a great one. I know that, you know, we've done the thing where somebody puts something into the family chat and then we start a secondary chat. And I can think of times where I had a sibling message me and be like, da, 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 da. And I'll be like, oh, I don't know, I didn't take it that way. Or like, yes, I think da, da, da. And they're like, no, Abby, calm down. Clarify. Do they mean what you think they mean?
Right.
Number 4, are they joking and trying to enrich our relationship with humor? Would it kill me to learn to laugh a little? You know, I started off with the comment of my brothers all making their comments, and I know that they really do love me, and I'm a middle child, and I've got 3 older brothers, and then it was me, and that's how it was for 9 years before the 2 younger ones came. And so there's a lot of good, you know, joking and hazing and all of that. But, you know, can it just be a joke? Can we learn how to laugh a little? Everything doesn't need to be taken personally. And then rule number 5, when they make a comment, have I taken the time to explain the situation as best I can to them so that they understand where I'm coming from? Because sometimes we're living through it, right? So we understand our situation. We know the ins and the outs of it. But when we explain it to somebody, or maybe we only have time to give them a little picture, they get a totally different idea. And maybe this causes concern for them. And they're panicked. And are you sure? You know, and have you taken the time to really explain it to them? Because I think that after you give them a good understanding of why you're making this decision, they'll see eye to eye, and it's not going to be a point of contention.
Yeah.
So those are 5 rules that you really should learn to adopt when it comes to taking advice or taking comments from family that maybe you don't appreciate. So some major areas. We are going to talk about 5 major areas that family can be the most opinionated on. And how can we manage those? So the first one is work choices. Have you ever had family give you their opinion on what you're doing work-wise, or not really?
I mean, I had this kind of happen when I was trying out an MLM company for a while, and it
What
was
is
like
that?
a multi-level marketing.
Oh,
And so
okay.
they called it like MLM is a secret code for pyramid scheme.
Pyramid scheme, yeah.
And so like I was in one of those, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And like it's like dumb, and I'm like, "No, but it's like actually really cool." And trying to convince them, and then you get like the side eyes, and you're like, "But why?" And so that was like one point where they just didn't understand my perspective of
Right.
it, and so then it was kind of like, okay, well, we just don't talk about it.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes I think that is it. You know, we shouldn't brush everything under the rug, but sometimes, and I know that that's a point that I have in here somewhere. I have so many points today for those of you who are listening. We might not be able to get through them all.
So much wisdom.
Yes. Well, I don't know if it's wisdom. So much opinions. See, I'm one of those siblings that the other siblings have to deal with getting opinions from. But work choices. So some things to consider when your family is questioning your work or your career. And I think Cassidy, in this case, they were having some of these concerns. So I think one of the first things is this your calling. Sometimes our family is concerned of, why are you doing this? Because they really don't think it's your calling. They think that you have a higher potential and they want to see you succeed. And so they might be questioning, why are you getting into this? Is this your giftedness? Is this maybe just a stepping stone to help you get to your goal? And you can say that, hey, this isn't going to be a long-term thing, but this is one of the rungs on the ladder. Is your current situation a help or a hindrance to your spiritual walk? When we're really thinking about each one of these family dilemmas or opinions, is this situation a help or a hindrance to my spiritual walk? And if there's not any sin related or a spiritual problem, most of these are going to be a non-issue to begin with. Is this what you've worked or studied for? Again, have you gone to college for something and now you're doing something totally unrelated and all of that is wasted? You can see where your family might feel a loss for you. And are you happy and thriving there? Sometimes people are doing things that they hate. They might be getting okay money, but they hate it. And your family is like, why are you doing this?
Every time you get together for a meal, all that comes out is the horrid work stories. And you're like, just move somewhere else.
Yes, and right. Are you constantly complaining? Because maybe your family's tired of it, all right? They're like, we don't want to hear you complain anymore. I know I was working as an EMT, and those hours were long, and it's with, quite frankly, many times nasty people who are very unkind and they don't care about you. And in the area that I was giving care, a lot of the people abused the medical system, quite frankly, and it was very draining. It was very exhausting. And I remember my family being like, Abby,
you're not looking like yourself here.
No, you're tired all the time. You really don't seem to be enjoying this. What gives? So those can be some things to consider when it comes to your family really giving you opinions on your work situation. I think especially for women, this is something that's very real for us. Your family might challenge you if they think that you should be a stay-at-home mom full-time and you shouldn't be working. Your family may challenge you if you are wanting to be a stay-at-home mom and they're saying, hey, why are you just being a stay-at-home mom? You should be working. Your family might be challenging you if you're in a nannying position or a babysitting position. I think sometimes brothers can be very harsh in this area and feel like, come on, why are you babysitting for a living? If you are kind of like Cassidy was saying, I wouldn't say pyramid scheme, but a lot of women get into selling things, whether it be Mary Kay, 31.
Those are all MLMs.
Essence, all
They're
these different things. Right. Our families can say, why are you doing that? It's a pyramid scheme. It's a waste of money. If it's something that you love and you enjoy and it's enriching you and it's not a hindrance, it's okay for them to not fully understand everything.
Right.
So again, as women, I think a lot of the work things that we go into can be very highly criticized. Take it with a grain of salt. Remember, they love you and they want the best for you. Relationship choices. We got to fly. So a few things to consider when your family is questioning your relationships. Have you given your family an opportunity to meet this person? It might take a very long time. I know in my situation, it took a long time, and now my family loves my husband, but it took a while. Is this person equally yoked? Is this person sharpening you, or are they really holding you down? Is this person reliable? Are they willing to get to know your family and make relationships? Are they going to put in the effort? Because that can be a discouraging thing too, is when your family really does want to get to know them, but maybe your significant other isn't making any effort. And that can be a conversation that you can have with your significant other and explain that to them. Is your family bringing up real and legitimate issues? A lot of times in our relationships, family loves us, they mean the best, but they're bringing up things that really aren't legitimate. They're not. And you can take that with a grain of salt and say, hey, the issue that you brought up, this is a nothing. What if they get fat? What if they judge you? What if, what if? So we're going to move on. Well, and then the final thing, is your family focused on minor personality issues or major character flaws? Your family does know you very well, and they're going to probably notice things that you don't. And so take what they have to say seriously, consider it, but again, really test it. Is this a minor personality difference, or is this a major character flaw?
That's one thing I appreciated my brothers. They really did have a lot to say with my relationship choices.
Yes.
Like, this isn't a good idea. Or like, oh, yes, with my current now husband, they were like besties. And so that was pretty easy. But yeah, that was a lot of good wisdom coming from them. Like, this isn't going to be a good thing for you. And it was like, oh, like, sometimes it hits a little bit harder than mom or dad saying this isn't a good thing for you, because it's like, oh, like, they actually like came to talk to me about my relationship. Like, that's pretty big.
Yes. Yeah. So again, listen to what they have to say and try not to get super defensive. And again, with significant others, this is one of the areas that we tend to get most defensive of. But if our family really loves us and they have good intentions, we should definitely hear them out. We're going to go into parenting choices. I have another one on where I live choices. Family can be very offended when we choose to move far away. Do you have some good reasons behind that? And what are your legitimate reasons for moving far away? So think through some of those thoughts. So parenting choices. Whew. And again, this is a big one with parents, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, and siblings. We're all going to parent a little bit different. And, it's okay. So the first thing to think about is, has their suggestion worked for them? And if it has, again, maybe there's a little bit of truth there. If it worked for their family, it's something to consider. Maybe they've never even tried their piece of advice, and sometimes it feels that way, like,
Not too sure about that.
Yeah. Have you ever taken your own advice before? And then, is pride keeping me from trying their suggestion? And I think, again, with siblings, this can happen where we think, why are they telling me to do this? I don't need their advice. Well, is pride the only thing that's keeping you from learning from them? And if that's the case, then you need to ditch your pride. Is their advice in line with Scripture? Maybe it is very good advice for one child, but not a different child. I only have one, but Cassidy, you have multiple different children.
Right. Yeah, I'm finding that now really obviously between the differences between my first and second child. One is so much more tender towards discipline, while the first is very stubborn towards doing things right away. And so, the advice that I had gotten from my family was so helpful with the first one, because it's like, how hard do I go with discipline? And now that we know those things, it doesn't work as well as the second. And
right.
So relearning and asking for new advice, like, what about this one is different? But yeah, thankfully I'm blessed with my family on both sides, very, very kind with their advice about parenting choices. So.
Yeah. So again, maybe that's another thing, is maybe the first time that they give you parenting advice for that particular child or in that particular stage, it's not applicable. It's not effective. But don't make that be your excuse to say, well, I'm never going to take advice from them again. Because in another stage, that advice might be really, really helpful. Does my spouse agree with their comments? When it comes to parenting, you and your spouse are the parents, and you need to be on the same page. And so if there is some family conflict where grandma and grandpa's comments are coming in between you, mom and dad, or aunt and uncle's comments are coming in between you and mom and dad, that's a problem. So make sure that you and your spouse are first and foremost on the same. And then the last thing, can I remember that just because our parenting styles are different doesn't necessarily mean that one is wrong and one is right. Again, especially when we see success with our children, we can be like, ha ha ha, my parenting is better. But no, they have a way that works for their kids and you have a way that works for your kids. Don't let that become a divisive thing.
Right. I think it's important as long as it's not out of line of the scripture. It's not always a point of argument.
Yeah. And you know what? You can roll your eyes at your siblings. It's okay. You're different people. It's all right to have different personalities. Again, I have a very close-knit family, and that is something. We will all laugh at one another, and we'll roll our eyes, and we can honestly say, I wouldn't do it that way. And it's okay. You don't have to do it the same way, but then be okay with that. Be okay with your differences, and don't take that to heart and make it an attack.
Right.
And then the last thing that we're just going to go over is hobbies. And this is something that I thought about a little bit and was like, should I add this to the list? But our difference in hobbies can be a point of contention. And it can be a point of judgment of, oh, you like doing that? Or that's such a waste of time. That's such a waste of money. And again, your family wants you to be a good steward of what you have. And so they're going to make comments that they think are beneficial. Take it with a grain of salt. But ask yourself, is this hobby a sin? No, it's not a sin. My hobby is not Friday night drinking to getting drunk. Okay, great, Does this hobby take me away from church? If your hobby is a sin, if it's taking you away from church, if it's prohibiting relationship building, those are red flags when it comes to your hobbies. And then are they just jealous? Do they wish they were me? Maybe. Sometimes that happens, right? Our families can get envious, and this might come if you have more money, or if you have fewer kids, or if you have more vacation time. Your siblings or your parents even might be jealous. We never were able to have that. Sometimes family isn't just happy for you. Sometimes they're a little bit jealous. And that can be where these critical thoughts can come. And we can learn to be gracious with that. And that might be a time where, okay, I'm not going to talk about my hobby in front of them. I'm not going to rub it in their face that my hobby is a yacht trip and the boat club, whatever. That doesn't need to be something you bring up and rub in their face. And then again, is there a sin issue or simply a difference in personality? My husband's hobbies are indoor hobbies. My family's hobbies, a lot of them are outdoor hobbies. And so sometimes it can feel like, oh, well, how come you don't want to do outside things? And then it can be kind of judgmental. And it's like, no, there's nothing wrong with this hobby. All right? This hobby is inside, that hobby is outside. It's okay. It's a difference in interests. So as we kind of wrap this up, as family, our opinions, they seem right to us. That's why we hold them, right? You don't have an opinion that you think is wrong. Because we want what's best for our loved ones, we want them to think like we do. And sometimes we can think that they're hurting themselves when they aren't doing what we think that they should. So just take things with a grain of salt and try to put yourself in their shoes, whether you're the one giving advice or you're the one receiving advice. So the last thing is, what about comments or advice that's not coming from the right place? This happens where there are family divisions and people are intentionally trying to be hurtful. Romans chapter 12, verse 18 reminds us to live peaceably with all men. Maybe they are trying to cause a problem. Live peaceably. You don't need to feed into that fire. Pray for them, love them. Just because somebody isn't loving you the right way doesn't mean that you should love them less. It doesn't mean that you need to be unkind right back. The Bible says that others will know us by our love. Are you an easily identified Christian, or are you covering that up with criticism? Try to give others the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they misunderstood me. Maybe they understand perfectly fine, but try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Remember that we're all sinners. Recognize the frailty of flesh and understand that, yeah, maybe they are jealous. Maybe I have something that they wish they could have. And be compassionate of that. I'm not saying condone their sin, but try to extend grace to the best of your ability. Identify the errors of their comments and their thinking. Identify what is truth and what is not. Identify if and why your choices are right. If possible, back up your decisions with Scripture. Arm yourself with truth so that you're not ensnared by critical opinions. This is another thing. Our family can give us a lot of doubt, where doubt is unnecessary. And try to arm yourself against that. You don't want to go through life thinking, oh no, what if I made a mistake? And arm yourself with truth. Right. There are times that our family is wrong. I know it's hard to imagine, but sometimes they are wrong. Yes. So make sure that you are taking what they have to say with a grain of salt. Don't read into it too deep, and know what the Bible has to say. Pray for them. Avoid bringing up hot topics. Cassidy mentioned that earlier of, I just decided not to talk about this.
There's something that don't need to be said.
Yep. And then if necessary, and this should only be a last resort, you can consider some limited separation as necessary. I do not suggest cutting people out of your family, shunning them. As an absolute last result, if you have a true narcissist family member or somebody who is intentionally striving to wreak havoc, maybe we need some separation, some healthy separation.
So something that was just kind of coming to my mind with opinions, and something that could potentially be an opinion that is not welcome is when you first are married, and then all of a sudden the questions start coming in about when are you having kids, or how many kids are you going to have, or oh, you have 3 boys, so you can have a girl, and all these questions. You're like, what, this really isn't any of your business. And before, those questions wouldn't have bugged me, and maybe they haven't personally been for me, but now that I know of some people who have struggled with conceiving or have infertility questions, those questions are very hurtful. And it's just, if you hear someone continually asking a family member, maybe they aren't able to stand up and say, like, I don't want to talk to you about this right now, it's hurtful. You can help guide them, be like, this is a really sensitive topic. Like, maybe years ago that was like a normal thing asked, but now it's not so much anymore. And so just maybe helping your family members out of being trapped at all the family reunions. When you having kids, like, can you stop? Right. Yes.
And having those healthy boundaries too, just like Cassidy said, of, we're not going to have a conversation, or my husband and I have decided we're not going to discuss these things, and leave it at that. And yes, absolutely, if you see a sister in need or you see a brother in need, help them out, help them out. Remember the leave and cleave principle. Again, this is specifically when family is being critical of, if you are a married individual and they're being critical of your family unit. Every family is different. You are going to be a little different than your siblings. If you know that you're not in sin, this is between me and my husband. My mom and dad don't need to get involved. My cousins don't need to get involved. And having those healthy boundaries and say, yep, this is what we've decided. Thank you, but this is not your business. And so these are hopefully some really helpful things to walk through, some things to consider when you have advice or opinions from from loved ones.
Yes, I know that one. Take it lighter than maybe it's meant to be funny, and like,
Yeah.
I need to laugh more.
Cassidy's
I
like,
take things too seriously.
This is so funny.
Don't have to be so stinky defensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun conversation. I do have a song of the week for us.
Ooh, yeah.
It's not really like related to the conversation. Maybe it was just, I like this song. It's called "What I'm After," and then in parentheses, "Give Me Jesus." So if you're familiar with "Give Me Jesus," it's like kind of like that with a little twist. So kind of fun. The one that I listened to is by One Common. So yes, that's what we have this week.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you have some good takeaways.
Yes.